What's up, everybody? It's Jared with Capture the Magic, and in today's video, we're going to talk about DVC. And if you're unaware of what that is Disney's Vacation Club, which is essentially kind of a fancy timeshare that Disney offers at many of their hotels. And recently, there's been some changes to the agreement of the DVC owners that have many owners worried about what this could mean going forward. So we're going to read through this over here on dvcfan.com and get some thoughts on it, because I do find this interesting. And having been people, we've rented points before. We are not DVC owners, but if you are a DVC owner or looking to become one, it could definitely change the way that you're able to use points into the future. So this says DVC reveals new rules aimed at renting DVC points and what members need to know. So this is really the most in-depth article I was able to find on what these new terms are, because terms and conditions are not, fun to read through. So we're just going to go some of the bullet points here. It says on June 2nd, 2025, Disney Vacation Club introduced a new policy that could impact how members make reservations, especially those who rent out their vacation points. A new required checkbox has been added to the final step of the online booking process, asking members to confirm that their reservation is for personal use only. While simple in execution, this new step is paired with updated terms and conditions that give DVC greater authority to define and enforce what it considers commercial rental activity. It says, let's break down what changed and what it means for members going forward. So when making a reservation through the DVC website, members are now required to check this box here, like we just talked about, that it's for personal use only. This is the only new step we've seen added to the online booking interface. We've heard from several members that when booking reservations over the phone, DVC Member Services is now asking follow-up questions to confirm who the reservation is for, such as whether it's for the member, a friend or family member, or a rental guest. While not yet part of the digital booking process, this could signal further procedural changes ahead. I think that's exactly what this is. It's not as much what they've changed now, but what is likely to sort of change forward. Instead of it's the old boiling frog in a pot, sort of idea. As you don't turn the heat up all the way right away, or you'll hop off, where it's slow incremental changes like we've seen in the theme parks with pricing and things like that. It's not an uncommon sort of, I don't know what you call it, tactic, but it's a way of which kind of implementing new things, kind of easing people into it. So it says alongside the booking system update, DVC also issued revised terms and conditions, and the updated language provides the clearest definition yet of how DVC interprets personal and commercial use of membership. It says, quote, "You agree that any reservations made under your membership are solely for personal use and not for commercial purposes, as required by governing documents for each DVC resort, including but not limited to the declaration of condominium and membership agreement. DVC reserves the right to interpret personal use and determine if reservations are booked for personal or commercial purposes in its sole discretion. Personal use may include enjoying the benefits of a DVC membership with family or allowing use of any reserved vacation home to friends and family on occasion. Additionally, personal use means that the member does not regularly or frequently rent/sell reservations booked using their membership. This addition gives DVC broad discretion in interpreting intent and frequency of use, empowering them to cancel or deny reservations they believe are made for commercial gain." Now, that is much different than how it used to be before. Like I said, we're not DVC members, but I know a lot of people that are, so I kind of know the ins and outs of what you're able to do there, and we've rented points before as well. They say, why is DVC making these changes? It says, for years, members have voiced frustrations at condo association meetings about limited availability and perceived rental abuse, especially for hard-to-book resorts, specific views, and holiday travel windows. At the December 2024 condo association meeting, Shannon Sakasake, maybe? I probably got that wrong. Vice President of Member Experiences and Club Management stated, "We are reviewing members who seem to own large numbers of points just to make a profit. DVC is actively figuring out ways to go after that and to stop that to the best of our ability." So is renting DVC points still allowed? It says, yes, renting is still allowed. Let's be clear, the legal framework that governs DVC explicitly permits members to rent out their vacation points. In fact, DVC membership documents and multi-site public offering statements have long stated that, quote, "members may rent their vacation points. However, the use of your vacation points for commercial purposes is expressly prohibited." It says the key distinction is intent and frequency. Renting occasionally due to schedule changes, illness, or financial need is permitted. Regular or repeated rentals solely to generate profit equals potentially commercial and now more clearly subject to enforcement. So they go on to say, what does commercial renting look like? It'd be owning multiple contracts with consistent rental activity, rarely, if ever, using points personally, posting blocks of high-demand rooms in online forums, and making bookings solely with intent to resell. And there are a lot of people that use DVC in this way. And technically, DVC actually says when you go, sign up, they'll actually, as an incentive to get people to book, or to sign up for DVC, they'll say you can always rent your points out. Not saying you can do it as a business, but they didn't, they typically in the past at least have not said like, oh, as long as you're not doing it too much. They basically said it's a perk of getting a DVC contract is that you can rent out the points, and either if you're not going to use them or I guess make a little side money, wherever that is. They have used that language in the past about I guess you could say a benefit of joining DVC is you can rent out these points. But they also said, let's not forget DVC rents points too. It's worth remembering that DVC itself is the largest point renter. Through buybacks, foreclosures, withheld inventory, and member exchanges like cruises, DVC holds and rents out millions of points every year. In fact, in DVC's 2024 year in review on Instagram, it was reported that 3.5 million points were exchanged for Disney cruises alone. Points that DVC then monetized by renting rooms to cash-paying guests. The issue isn't rental, it's regulation and fairness for all members. So what should DVC members take away from this? It says these changes signal a targeted effort to address repeat rental abuse, not a crackdown on members who rent occasionally and within the intent of the program. As someone who works for DVC rental store, says a disclaimer I feel necessary given the matter of this subject change. I view these updates as a positive move toward protecting the membership for those who use it responsibly. If you rent a few points occasionally, you're still within your rights. If you've turned your membership into a for-profit rental business, it may be time to rethink your strategy. We know some DVC members, and it's been a known thing. It's many times very difficult to book, to use your points at certain resorts and hotels because of how the availability is not there. And a lot of people have pointed to the fact that you do have a lot of people that buy up a lot of contracts and essentially run a business by renting out points. Now, is that something that Disney themselves have sort of incentivized over the years? I don't know if they've incentivized it, but they definitely haven't put a clamp down on it. This is at least the first time I've seen where they've really started to go after this. And one reason, years ago, I think we may have been much more likely to do DVC than we are now, for sure. But back in the day, I never wanted to do DVC because first off, it's a timeshare and I don't like timeshares. But second, there's a lot of things you pay that you have no control over. And essentially being a DVC member would be saying you trust Disney and DVC to be a good partner in this. And I just typically don't trust corporations. Good point, Disney into that. I don't trust them that they're always going to have my best interest, and they can change terms and conditions like this just on a dime. As we're seeing here, these things can be changed, and you don't have you can't say, well, I don't agree to this, because if you don't agree to it, then I don't know what the whole process is. But basically, to be a DVC member, you have to agree to whatever terms that they say. So from just that perspective, I've never thought DVC is something that made a lot of sense for us, and it was something I didn't like the aspect of having these fees that just could change on a whim by a committee that decides that your rates are going to go up, or if a hurricane comes through and there's damage, obviously you're going to be paying more as they work to repair things. Now, for those that have made DVC rentals a business, I would say just from a business perspective of somebody who has run multiple businesses, it's a risky endeavor even before this happened, just because your entire business, if it is like solely your business, you are essentially at the mercy of whatever Disney puts in the terms and conditions. So if they make a single change like this, all of a sudden you may be doing well financially, and then all of a sudden it can get cut off. If it's something where people are just, they have points, they're renting them out as needed, or they can't use the points, and I think that's what they're saying is still okay to do. So it seems like they're really making an effort to go after the people that are making this a business. Now, I don't know what that means for, say, middlemen, like Dave's DVC, like some of these places that rent out points. They have members. They basically play middleman to hook you up with people who want to rent points. I don't know what that means for them. At one point, I was approached about starting one of these businesses, and I declined it at the time. This was like 5 years ago, because of this thing right here. I was like, your entire business is essentially set up on the fact that these terms and conditions aren't going to change, or these dynamics can't change. And I don't like having things that I can't control. Not that you can control everything, but in a business setting, or if you're making this your main way of getting revenue or a substantial portion of it, not having direct control over that part of it was just something that I never thought made a lot of sense, and I didn't want anything to do with. So I think for most DVC owners that are just, they have points, they rinse them out every once in a while, I don't think anything's going to change. But what I do think this is going to do is probably the first step in even more of a crackdown on this. And this may be a way of trying to scare the people that are basically using this as a way of just a business to sell their contracts, get rid of them, or to stop doing it. And if it continues to happen, they'll probably crack down further. Now, I do know in terms, I think Disney as a whole, I did hear they brought in some new lawyers, because you were hearing from travel agents and others that a lot of terms and conditions around Disney as a whole were being altered and changed. And there were a lot on the travel agency side that they were pushing back really hard, because they were trying to make travel agency owners carry insurance. That essentially what Disney was saying is, if you booked a trip for somebody and they got hurt on Disney property, that the travel agency or agent could be held liable for their injuries, which is absolutely crazy. They pushed back on that. I think they did away with the need for that. But you have been seeing a lot more of these terms and conditions being changed. I'm guessing from new lawyers Disney got, as Disney is very litigious, and they like to do this stuff in the terms and conditions. But if you are somebody who is making substantial income from renting points, I would probably say find another way to make some money, because I think Disney is going to crack down on this, and probably a lot of it may be well-intentioned, of having the actual DVC members being able to use their points, as intended, where they can actually book at resorts and things aren't clogged up with just people renting out points. But is it hypocritical? Disney rents out points. I mean, yeah, but they own them. It's their thing. So I suppose just because they want to do it doesn't mean everybody else can do it, I suppose. Now, I think in terms of DVC owners as a whole, from what I've seen and some of the comments on this article, I think most DVC members are pretty happy with this. I mean, we see one here, it says, finally, only time will tell if it will be effective, but they need to start somewhere, so the effort is appreciated. Somebody here says, I would like to see the big concerns that market points be stopped. I think also making reservations that are intended to be sold is not fair and ties up inventory for owners using it themselves. Glad to see Disney's taking action. Way too many people renting DVC points for profit, judging by some people who list 8 to 10 reservations at a time for rent at popular resorts for holiday season, etc. Yet another one, very happy to be reading this. I have no issues with casual renting and unloading points you can't use, but let's be honest here, we know exactly who we are all talking about here. Want to make me happy, prevent walking. You shouldn't need to modify a reservation date by more than 1, maybe 2 times. If your plans change that much, it's time to make a new one. Yeah, someone here said, totally agree with this policy, as we often cannot book at 11 months out. Not much left the closer you get, and often see many of the same names listed for rental. Very frustrating, but doubtful that renters will be honest when answering the question. Thank you, DVC, for start enforcing this policy. And really, the language in there assumes that Disney is able to see in these forms. I mean, I'm not gonna doubt one bit that Disney has people inside of many of these popular forums and message boards that rent points frequently, and they can probably figure out who's who pretty easily. So, I think if you're one of those people that have made a business out of it, I would probably go find something else, because I don't think it's going to be able to be a feasible thing much longer. But you could see further restrictions even come down. I mean, it has been theorized before that Disney could make it where maybe not where you can't rent points, but making it very, very difficult to rent points. And again, it's just something that you're going to have to deal with these things, probably much more limiting as time goes on. And as Disney, I think, also wants to crack down on people renting points, because obviously they want more people to buy DVC, as they have been putting more DVC kiosk inside the parks. And that's obviously an aspect of the parks that makes them a lot of money. So they have incentive beyond just trying to make DVC members happy. They also want people to buy more DVC that are renting points. So if they can cut out people that have made a business out of renting points, they probably assume that they're going to get more people that would eventually become DVC owners, is my guess, as part of this as well. So I don't think it's just them trying to make their members happy. I think it's also them trying to make more money. And Disney's kind of known to do this, limiting different ways in which you can skirt rules or get around them. Many times Disney will come in after the fact and crack down on these things because they figure that that's just more money for them to make. And that's probably part of it here. But if this little change here doesn't help on the occupancy or the availability, you could see further crackdowns on this. But it'll be interesting to see if they enforce this and how they would. I mean, if you did rent points and it gets canceled, then you're dealing with a whole situation of a lot of people have paid these people for these rental points. And if they get canceled, Disney's not going to refund their money. So it just come down to dealing with the people in general, and that's the risk in renting points. And I think they're probably as well trying to make it much less appealing for people to even rent points. Like I said, I don't think it's just DVC trying to make their members happy. I also think they're trying to, as they do in the theme parks, squeeze as much money as they can out of every element of profit making they have. And DVC is one of the bigger ones. So it's probably an aim to help them try and sell more DVC as well. But either way, though, that's all I know on the subject here. You may know more than me in the comments, so be sure to leave a comment below if you know more information on this. But either way, that's going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And again, let us know in the comments, do you like this change that DVC is making? And do you think is going to make renting points in general almost impossible sometime in the future? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.